As the sun rose over the city, Bayne walked into the sleek, modern building that housed the headquarters of Jeon Enterprises. She had just been hired as an executive assistant to the mysterious CEO Jeon Jungkook. She had heard the rumors about his cold and distant attitude, but she was determined to prove herself in her new role. When she arrived at her desk, Bayne found a stack of papers waiting for her. She settled in and began to sort through them, eager to make a good impression on her first day. As the morning passed, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Glancing up, she saw Jungkook standing in the doorway of his office, his piercing eyes fixed on her. "Good morning, Mr. Jeon," Bayne said, trying to sound confident despite her nerves. "Good morning, Miss Kim," he replied in a cool, detached tone. "I trust you're settling in well." "Yes, thank you. Is there anything you need me to do?" she asked, eager to prove her competence. "I'll let you know if there's anything," he replied before disappearing back into his office. Bayne sighed and returned to her work, determined not to let his aloofness get to her. A few weeks later, Jungkook's brother Wonwoo invited the entire office to a party at his luxurious penthouse apartment. Bayne was excited to attend and get to know her co-workers outside of the office. As the evening progressed, she found herself chatting and laughing with Wonwoo, who was charming and easy to talk. Meanwhile, Jungkook stood in a corner, watching the scene with a frown. He couldn't help but notice how his brother and Bayne seemed to be getting along so well. He had never been one to let his emotions show, but seeing Bayne so at ease with Wonwoo stirred something in him that he couldn't quite understand. "Is everything okay, Jungkook?" Wonwoo asked, approaching his brother with a concerned look. "I'm fine," Jungkook replied, his eyes still fixed on Bayne across the room. Wonwoo followed his brother's gaze and chuckled. "I see what's going on here. You're jealous, aren't you?" "Don't be," Jungkook said, but the truth was he couldn't deny the twinge of jealousy that had taken root in his chest. The following Monday, Bayne arrived at work to find a note on her desk from Jungkook, requesting her presence in his office. She knocked on the door and entered, finding him standing by the window, his hands clasped behind his back. "You wanted to see me, Mr. Jeon?" Bayne asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Yes, please have a seat," he said, gesturing to the chair in front of his desk. As she sat down, Jungkook took a deep breath and turned to face her. "I wanted to talk to you about the other night at my brother's party." Bayne felt her heart skip a beat. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine," he said, his voice softer than she had ever heard it. I couldn't help but notice how well you and Wonwoo seemed to get along. Wyan's eyes widened in surprise. Oh, I'm sorry if I gave you the wrong impression. Mr. Jun, I assure you there's nothing between Wonwoo and me, Wyan said, her cheeks blushing with embarrassment. He's just really easy to talk to, that's all. Jungkook studied her face for a moment, his gaze intense. I see. It's just I couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy when I saw you two together. Wyan's eyes widened in disbelief. She never would have imagined her reserved boss admitting to such. I had no idea. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. It's not your fault, Jungkook replied, his tone softer now. It's just, I've never felt this way before. Before Wyan could respond, there was a knock on the door and Wonwoo poked his head in. Hey Jungkook, do you have a minute? Jungkook's expression hardened again as he turned to his brother. What is it, Wonwoo? Wonwoo stepped into the office, his eyes flicking between his brother and Wyan. I just wanted to ask if you're free for lunch today. I thought we could catch up. Jungkook hesitated for a moment, his eyes lingering on Wyan. I'm sorry, Wonwoo, but I have a meeting. Rain check? Sure, no problem, Wonwoo said with a shrug. But don't work too hard, okay? As Wonwoo left the office, Jungkook turned back to Wyan. I'm sorry for wasting your time. You can go now and finish your work for the meeting. In the days that followed, an unspoken tension hung in the air between Jungkook and Wyan. Their interactions became more charged, each conversation laced with unspoken emotions. Wyan found herself unable to concentrate, her thoughts constantly drifting to her enigmatic boss and the unexpected confession he had made. Meanwhile, Jungkook struggled to come to terms with his newfound feelings for his assistant. He had always prided himself on his professionalism and control, but Wyan had managed to unravel his composure in a way that both frustrated and intrigued him. One afternoon, as they were late in the office, Jungkook finally broke the silence. Wyan, can we talk for a moment? Wyan looked up from her computer, surprised by the serious tone in his voice. Of course, Mr. Jun. What's on your mind? He hesitated for a moment, choosing his words carefully. I realize that I may have crossed a line with you, and for that I apologize. I never intended to make things awkward between us. Wyan frowned, her brow, her confusion evident. I don't understand. What do you mean? I mean, I care about you, Wyan, he admitted, his voice tinged. More than I should, and I don't know what to do about it. The confession hung in the air, the weight of it palpable in the quiet office. Vian's heart raced as she proceeded his words, her own feelings for him bubbling to the surface. She had never expected to find herself in this situation, torn between her professional responsibilities and the undeniable pull she felt toward her boss. Mr. John, I don't know what to say, Vine stammered, her mind racing. Jungkook looked at her, his eyes searching hers for a response. You don't have to say anything, Jungkook said softly, breaking the tension that had settled between them. I understand if this is all too much, and I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Vine took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. It's not that, Mr. Chan. It's just I never expected this, and I'm not sure how to handle it. I know, Jungkook replied, his gaze unwavering. I never expected it either, but I can't ignore how I feel, and I couldn't stand the thought of you thinking I was avoiding you because of what I said. I don't think that at all, Vine said, feeling a surge of empathy for her boss. I understand that these things are complicated, and I appreciate your honesty. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their unspoken emotions hanging heavily in the air. Finally, Jungkook spoke again. I think it would be best if we took a step back for the sake of professionalism. I value your work, Vian, and I don't want to make things more difficult for you. Vian nodded, her heart aching at the thought of distancing herself from Jungkook. I understand. I'll do whatever it takes to maintain a professional working relationship. As they parted ways for the evening, both Vian and Jungkook were left with a whirlwind of emotions and unanswered questions. In the days that followed, Vian and Jungkook did their best to maintain a professional appearance at work. However, the unspoken tension between them lingered, making their interaction both charged and awkward. Despite their efforts, they found themselves stealing glances and sharing fleeting moments of shared understanding. Meanwhile, Wonwoo noticed the change in his brother's demeanor and the subtle shift in the office dynamics. Sensing that something was amiss, he decided to have a heart-to-heart conversation with Jungkook. Hey Jungkook, can we talk for a moment? Wonwoo said, pulling his brother aside during a family dinner. Jungkook nodded, knowing that his brother wouldn't let the matter rest until they had spoken. What's on your mind, Wonwoo? It's about Vian, Wonwoo said, his gaze searching his brother's eyes. I can't help but notice the tension between you two. Is everything okay? Jungkook hesitated, unsure of how much to share with his brother. It's complicated, Wonwoo. I made a mistake, and now things are difficult. Wonwoo raised an eyebrow, his curiosity piqued. A mistake? What happened? Jungkook took a deep breath, knowing that he couldn't keep the truth from his brother any longer. I developed feelings for Vian and I let it affect our professional relationship. Now I don't know how to fix things. Wonwoo's eyes widened in surprise. Wow, I had no idea. I can see why that would complicate things. I just don't want to make her uncomfortable. And I don't want our working relationship to suffer because of my own feelings, Jungkook confessed. Wonwoo nodded thoughtfully. Have you talked to her about it? I did, but we agreed to keep things professional, Jungkook said, with a hint of sadness in his voice. I just wish I knew how to navigate this situation without causing any more harm. Wonwoo considered his brother's words carefully. He knew that Jungkook was sincere in his desire to protect Ryan and maintain a professional environment, but he also recognized that their feelings for each other were real and needed to be addressed. Maybe you should give her some space. Let her come to terms with her feelings, Wonwoo suggested. And in the meantime, you could focus on being there for her as a friend. Maybe that could help ease some of the tension. Jungkook nodded, appreciating his brother's advice. I'll try that, he said, sounding hopeful. But what if she doesn't feel the same way? Wonwoo smiled reassuringly. Then at least you'll know where you stand and you can move forward with that knowledge. Either way, it's better than living with this uncertainty. As they returned to their dinner conversation, Wonwoo couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in his brother. Despite the challenges he was facing, Jungkook was handling the situation with maturity and sensitivity. He hoped that things would work out for the best for them both. In the coming days, Jungkook did his best to follow his brother's advice. He was careful not to push Ryan too hard and instead focused on being supportive and understanding. They continued to work together on the project, their interactions becoming more natural and comfortable. Over the course of the next few weeks, Jungkook and Ryan continued to find ways to balance their personal feelings with their professional responsibilities. They became even more efficient as a team, their connections allowing them to anticipate each other's needs and moves on the project. One evening, as they were sitting together in the office, Jungkook finally mustered the courage to express his true feelings for her. His heart pounding in his chest, he took her hand in his and looked her in the eyes. Ryan, he began, I want you to know that I care for you deeply, not just as an employee, but as a person. I want us to be together, if you'll have me. Ryan's eyes filled with tears as she listened to him speak. She felt the same way, but had been too afraid to voice her feelings. Now, with Jungkook's statement, she knew that they could finally move forward together. She smiled at him, wiping away a tear, and said, I want that too, Jungkook. I want us to be together. They leaned in towards each other. As they held each other close, they knew that they had found something truly special, a love that would carry them through the rest of their lives.
Now I'm here with no one else, and every night, and